Efectivamente estoy entre la nieve, porque me encuentro en Montana. Hace un frío, o sea, increíble. Tengo esta mano con la que estoy sujetando la cámara congelada. Voy a dejaros aquí. Como iba diciendo, ahora mismo me encuentro dando una vueltilla. Es pronto por la mañana, son las 8. ¡Qué gozada! Y el caso es que hoy quiero que hablemos de uno de los temas que más me han preocupado siempre en lo referido a YouTube. Y estoy aquí, en este lugar gélido, frío, aunque la verdad es que bastante bonito para hablar con un youtuber que creo que es la representación perfecta de lo que quiero que comentemos, que es el compromiso. El compromiso con el contenido que hacemos y el compromiso con la comunidad que formamos alrededor de nuestro canal. Esa persona es Hank Green. Muchos, por supuesto, ya sabéis quién es. A otros quizá no os suene el nombre, pero en el momento en que le veáis vais a decir, oh, ya sé quién es. Y otros quizá nunca hayáis oído hablar de él. Y es una de las personas más importantes que hay en YouTube para mí. Una de las voces más importantes y una de las personas que mejor contenido hace. Muy inteligente también. Puede que os suene Vlog Brothers, que hace con su hermano John. Puede que os suene Bitcoin, porque él es el creador de Bitcoin. Puede que os suene Dear Hank and John, que es un podcast que hace también con John Green, su hermano. Y es una persona que hace un contenido que es una delicia, o sea, exquisito. No me sale otra palabra, sé que suena como muy carca decirlo así, ¿no? Pero da gusto sentarse y oírle hablar en un vídeo, sea cual sea el tema, esté donde esté, lo que sea. Tiene una forma de expresarse, la inteligencia que utiliza, tiene una comunidad que se involucra muchísimo, así que creo que me apetecía muchísimo hablar con él por eso, para ver su punto de vista, para ver cómo ha sido en su caso la evolución o la forma de llegar a YouTube y de hacer todo esto. Nos vamos a mover de todas formas antes de que Luzu se convierta en una estatua de hielo que van a poner en alguna boda, alguna celebración, me van a poner a mí así. El caso es que llegué aquí ayer, por eso estoy aquí tan pronto por la mañana, y fue uno de esos días completitos. Estoy aquí haciendo escalada en el Everest, perdonadme. Esperad que os voy a contar la historia. ¡Qué frío! Bueno, en realidad igual os la cuento.
Vamos a ver, si en realidad es todo hype, sabes perfectamente que la quieres contar.
Bueno, pero sí, os la quiero contar porque así damos contexto al día de hoy.
No os la va a contar.
Nada, es igual, vámonos a por un café y damos una vuelta por el pueblo y así entro en calor.
Mira, ya os lo cuento yo porque es que ni siquiera es una historia, o sea, no es nada. Volé de Los Ángeles a Seattle. Ahí tenía como 2 horas antes del siguiente vuelo a Montana. Comí algo, me tomé un cafecito, estaba lloviendo mogollón, el tiempo era asqueroso y pensábamos que nos iban a cancelar el vuelo. Total, que al final no lo hicieron. Empezamos a embarcar y me di cuenta de que íbamos en un avión de hélices. Pero un avión de hélices de esos de voy a hacer el testamento mientras embarcamos porque esto en cualquier momento se destruye en el aire y yo con él. Obviamente no pasó nada porque estoy aquí contándoos esto, que no es una historia. Total, que sí que pude disfrutar de las vistas llegando a Montana. Es impresionante, todo montañas nevadas, unos paisajes alucinantes. Y eso que me estaba dirigiendo a Missoula, que es un pueblo que no es muy grande, ¿no? Pero súper bonito, la verdad. Al final el avión de hélices me trajo una experiencia, no sé por qué he hecho así, positiva.
Qué bonito es todo esto nevado, de todas maneras. Estoy teniendo que tener mucho cuidado porque hay hielo. Estoy viendo que todavía me voy a pegar una buena hostia de esas que hacen historia, ¿sabes? Que ponen en los libros, luego ponen Montana, visite Montana y aparece una foto de Luzu pegándose una hostia en la acera, porque no lo parece, pero es que ahí hay hielo. O sea, ese suelo de ahí es hielo y cuando vas a pasar pegas un resbalón de esos de imbécil, ¿sabes? Fijaos, es el depredador silencioso, la placa de hielo que no se ve. Maldición, juro que no seré vencido. Me siento Jon Snow aquí luchando contra la gente de las nieves.
O sea, madre mía, el drama por una mierda de placa de hielo, la madre de Dios.
Vale, todo bien. También es que yo no llevo el calzado más apropiado para este, ¿no? Que no tengo otro, yo vivo en Los Ángeles, hace sol todos los días del año, Dios mío. Es increíble de todas maneras el pasar de ese clima y esa temperatura en California a esto en solo un día. Yo siempre digo que me encanta el frío y lo echo de menos, y luego llegas a un sitio como este y en 4 minutos se te ha pasado. O sea, dices, no, quiero volver otra vez al calor de California y de Los Ángeles, por favor. De todas formas, mientras nos acercamos os cuento un poco sobre Montana. Es un estado que está muy al norte, y me apetecía mucho venir también por el tema de que Tiene un montón de estos pueblos pequeños, como los que vimos en la Ruta 66, pero de otro estilo, obviamente, porque esos eran otros estados, ¿no? Tiene concretamente 1 millón de habitantes, que no es mucho para lo grande que es, pero entenderéis que con la cantidad de montañas y llanuras que hay con nieve y tal, y obviamente aunque ahora estamos en invierno y por eso hace tanto frío, no es todo el año el tiempo así, pero es un invierno muy duro, muy frío, tengo el cuerpo congelado. De todas maneras, creo que he encontrado un sitio en el que conseguir una taza de café calentito, así que vamos a ver si puedo entrar en calor. Aquí está. Pero el caso, y para aquellos que no hayan oído hablar de él, Hank, ya os digo que para mí ha sido siempre un ejemplo a seguir y siempre he pensado, ojalá hubiese más gente como Hank y John en internet, que están tan comprometidos con lo que hacen, que tienen tan en cuenta lo que ponen ahí fuera, lo que va a ver la gente, no solo el hecho de ser un buen ejemplo, que es algo que hemos hablado muchas veces también, sino el hecho de que la gente sea mejor de la manera que sea, por el hecho de que ven sus vídeos. No sé, siempre tocan temas muy interesantes, lo hacen de una forma muy elocuente, siempre, incluso la forma de hablar que tienen, ¿no? O sea, Hank tiene una forma de hablar que podría ver cualquier vídeo que hace y quizá lo habéis sentido alguna vez con algún youtuber que seguís. ¿Nunca habéis tenido esa sensación de podría ver cualquier vídeo que hace hablando de cualquier cosa y estaría viéndolo durante horas hablar? Otra cosa que creo que es muy importante es el hecho de que llevan haciendo el canal 10 años y no hay tantos youtubers que sean así. Pues Philip de Franco, Hank y John, bueno, Jenna, que estuvimos otro día con ella, lleva 7 años, 7 u 8 años haciendo YouTube, así que, o sea, no hay tantos youtubers así, ¿no? Que pueda considerar que son geniales y que llevan tanto tiempo. También el hecho de que lleven tanto tiempo haciendo vídeos y que la gente los lleve siguiendo tanto tiempo es quizá una señal de la calidad del contenido que hacen. Así que, como os decía, vamos a entrar un poco en calor con el café y nos vamos a ir a hablar con Hank, a ver qué nos cuenta. Tengo muchas ganas de hablar con él y de compartir, quizá como con Jenna, de ver, porque eso es lo que me interesa, ¿no? Me interesa ver su punto de vista en un montón de temas referidos a nuestra parte de creación, de cuando empezamos los canales, de la incertidumbre, todo eso. Igual que le preguntaba a Jenna, tengo ganas de ver esa parte de creador que tengan Hank y John con el tema de BUENOS.
Os recuerdo, por cierto, que la conversación con Hank es en inglés, pero he preparado unos subtítulos fantásticos en español que podéis activar dándole al botón que está junto a la ruedita de la calidad, donde eliges si lo quieres ver en HD o en 14.000K, pues hay subtítulos en español y entendéis todos los que no sepáis inglés.
I kind of started making videos because it was like my brother thought it was a good idea. And he is 3 years older than me, and I've always sort of done whatever he thought was cool. You know, when your older brother thinks something is cool, it's automatically cool. That's like the fastest way for something to seem cool. And I was sort of all in from that moment on in terms of thinking that it was valuable and interesting and like sort of remarkable cultural thing that was happening to the world. And that I got to be a part of it, I felt from the beginning was like not a chance I was ever going to get again. To be part of something that was going to be as big as this was going to be, as early as I was in it.
When you started, did you see any projection in it? I think that especially with people like you guys, because you've been doing this for like over 10 years, it's different. Like a lot of people start YouTube now and they know what there is. They know that you can make a living out of it. They know that you can design your content and your format, and there are important things that you have to do. But 10 years ago, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So did you guys ever imagined that you would have a career in this?
I think we knew we were creating value, and like as long as you're creating value, there's probably going to be a way someday to turn that into a living.
Yeah.
So we knew that, but like there was no revenue sharing program back then. YouTube didn't make any money. YouTubers didn't make any money.
Yeah.
But it felt totally worthwhile anyway. So while we weren't trying to work towards necessarily like doing it for a living, we were definitely trying to work towards it being bigger. How can I get people to click on this, people to find it, grow the audience? That was always very important to me. It was sort of the game to play, like how do I make content that I think is great, but that people will watch? Because there's two different things there. Like making great content and getting people to watch it are different. Once they're watching it, it has to be great, but you actually have to get them to start watching it too. So figuring out how to do both of those things. But also there was an element of like, John and I were doing it back and forth, and so it was like two brothers trying to one-up each other.
Yeah.
Like if he made a really good video, I'd want to make a video that was better than that.
That's great. That's a great way to you know, to grow your content. It's great to have to top something all the time.
Which is why I think, like, when I look at a lot of people who have gotten, like, successful on YouTube, it almost never happens all on their own.
Yeah.
They either have somebody they're working with that they're feeding off of, or other creators that they're feeding off of.
Yeah.
So you often see sort of like big groups of creators all rise together at the same time.
Because of this, and because you've lived that moment in the site, do you miss the moment where it was just a group of people making content and it wasn't absolutely mainstream? And I know that being mainstream is great because that brings a lot of things. And I hate to sound like this, but do you miss it?
Yeah, I do, of course.
'Cause I kind of do.
Yeah. I don't think, like, I'm not saying that I want it to be like that forever. It's a much more diverse and rich and interesting platform now than it was then.
Yeah.
But when it was just, it felt like everybody knew each other. Yeah, those are like the golden age. And
yeah, I guess that, I mean, at the end, as you were saying, the end goal is to grow, to bring more people, to have more variety. But this brings me to the main point of why I'm talking with you today, which is you guys have always been, in my eyes, creating content that had real value. Not just value because a lot of people invest in it, you know, like they're super fans, or a lot of people like you guys have 50 million subscribers or whatever. I'm talking in terms of, I've always seen your content as you guys are really committed to your audience. You guys are creating a community. It's always been something that I felt watching you, which is you value the community that you're creating. Everything that you guys do is always, it always feels really genuine. Have you ever felt a responsibility when you were creating content?
I need a reason to make a video every week, and I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't feel an obligation to the people who watched. Like, I think it's sort of like just what makes sense for me. It like feels right for me, but it's also, I feel like, good sense, good strategy, because the internet is now infinite content. You can always find something interesting to watch. But if I create a place where people feel like, you know, they're like, there's some connection and they're getting more out of it than just entertainment, and they're connected to us as people, or to like the sort of ideals of the you know, of the project, then there's a reason to come back for every video, instead of just like watching the ones that, you know, happen to fall across their feed, or so I definitely, like, I feel that obligation, but I don't, it's not necessarily just like a totally selfless thing. I think that it's a good way to build an audience in a world where there's always something else to watch.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like, we've seen over and over again on YouTube, like, that some people, like, will either get in trouble because they don't think enough about the impact their content is having on the world, or they just don't think at all or care about that. And that, like, that works when you're a small channel and, like, you don't have an impact on the world.
Yeah.
But then when you are huge and you do, you kind of have to think about it. And I believe that, and I believe that people who get huge and, like, refuse to think about it because they're like, well, I didn't ask for this. It's like, well, you did. Like, you're successful, you have money, you have so much influence, so think about your influence and think about, like, the effect that you have on the world, because you have a huge effect.
Yeah.
Whether you ask for it or not, like, whether you ask for that or not, you have it. Try to not make the world worse. I mean, it's amazing how, like, the influence that that mass culture has on people as they're growing up, as they, like, you know, even once they've grown up. It's like people, especially I feel like people who, like, sort of the core YouTube age, like, those people are defining themselves. They're deciding what they're going to be like for the rest of their lives, and I think it's important to consider that.
I think that, I mean, not that I've always, and I always say this, I don't make my videos thinking I have to be a good example, but I always try to make my videos in a way that it makes people's lives better in some way. It could be because of advice, some advice that I give, or the way that I react to things that are happening to me, or so that's always, like, in the back of my head somehow. It's not what defines my content, but it's always in the back of my head. And I've always hoped that at some point YouTube would actually train people that are growing, so that they know how to deal with the responsibility that they have.
Yeah, because you didn't ask for it, and you know, it used to be that there was a certain amount of training that happened because it, like stars for young people went through a system.
Yeah.
And that system was Disney usually. And the Disney system was like, okay, here's what you do, and if you don't do it, then you don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
But there's no more control on that now, which is like great for content, like because Disney kids content is pretty boring.
Yeah.
But now you basically have the kids deciding who gets in and who goes out, and like so it becomes the responsibility of the creator to decide like what's good and what's bad for the people who are watching.
I was talking about a few of the things that you do. How many things do you do, Hank?
I don't keep track that way. It
So-
would be way too stressful.
Because normally a YouTuber has a channel, maybe two, maybe they branch out and do different things. But in your case, you're a factory yourself of different projects, events, conventions, things like that.
Yeah.
How do you not lose your mind?
I have not lost my mind. I have had some bad weeks in the last 10 years, for sure. I have a merchandise company that sells merch for YouTubers that we started because like all the merch companies back in 2008 were terrible.
Yeah.
We started VidCon, which is now going international this year. We have 2 channels that are bigger than our original channel, which are educational channels. SciShow, which is just science news and information. Crash Course, which is like for high school, early college students to learn stuff. And then I still, of course, make a Vlogbrothers video every week, which is, like kind of like my favorite day. Like this is it. Like this is my Vlogbrothers day that you're getting part of.
Yeah.
Where I just like get to make a video and not have to worry about anybody else, and I do it all by myself, and I don't and like it's just me and the camera and the computer, and I make it. The trick, of course, is finding really good people to work with and having enough money to hire them.
Yeah. Because I've seen also with time how we start. Being a YouTuber is great because you don't need a big team when you start, right? Like you just need a camera, you just need equipment.
I definitely see that. Like I've seen several videos on YouTube that are like head and shoulders above anything I've done that have like 100,000 views, and they're just genius content.
Yeah.
And but like they put out like one video every 3 months, because if you're just doing it on your own, like if you're gonna try and make something that looks like really, really freaking good, it's gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah. Do you think it's necessary though? Like, because I know that at the beginning YouTube, and as you were saying, the time that you guys started, quality and how things looked did not matter. But as we go by, still YouTube for me is always gonna be the message and the content are gonna be over how it looks. But it is true that we're reaching a point where like you can't do just anything with the image. Do you think that it's gonna be always like that? Do you think that you can go around doing videos that are not that great of a quality? Because TV is that. TV is, a lot of the times it's just quality, no content. And that's what I'm scared of. Like, are we going to reach a point where, like, that is going to be what cuts?
Kind of. So this is not the first time I will have given this spiel, but so like most people listen to top 40 radio. Like everybody knows who Taylor Swift is. Everybody knows who Beyonce is.
Yeah.
And like I know a bunch of their songs, but most people also have like a couple of like things that they listen to that aren't popular, like deep down. And then there are some people that only listen to not popular stuff. Like they're really into like a specific era of jazz, or they're really into like right now, like whatever's happening in the indie rock scene, which I don't know anything about. And that's what YouTube's going to be like. And maybe even more diverse than the music scene is, where you have all these things happening that are interesting, but not super popular, but fairly popular. Like they have big audiences. Like, like there are lots of indie rock bands that you've never heard of that make a living touring. And so you're going to have a lot of these smaller YouTube channels that are doing interesting things, and then that will feed up. And occasionally you get one of those things to pop up. But what happens more often is the interesting things they're doing filter up to the top. So their innovation benefits the people who already have the power. That happens all the time, where like you will see something that, and like artists give credit for this. It's not like a wrong thing, but like you'll see or hear something in a Taylor Swift song that was definitely inspired by something that you've never heard of. And I think YouTube actually is working to feature that kind of content more, and I think that's something that can be done algorithmically if the algorithm gets smarter.
I told you before how like when we start, we have certain things that we are excited about, that we're afraid of when it comes to a YouTube channel. But also, I remember when I started making videos, it was like a time where I was enjoying everything that I was doing because everything was new, because everything was an opportunity to grow like so much, right? Like everything was the first time that I was doing something in the channel and stuff like that. So it was really easy to enjoy every bit of it. Now that you've been doing this for 10 years, what is it that you enjoy the most of this job?
Well, that's kind of also part of why I've done all the new things, because it keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that everybody's going to have a different thing that they find interesting, but like I find running businesses really interesting. I find like managing people and putting them together to do stuff, like finding the right people to work together is a real, like I find that to be a creative, weird thing that is fun. It can sometimes be challenging and occasionally terrible, but usually very fun. But when it comes to actually making the videos, part of it is like having something to do on like, so that it like during the week, so that it doesn't feel like my job.
Yeah.
So like I'm at work doing Crash Course in SciShow for most of the week and VidCon.
Yeah, and then Vlogbrothers.
And then like I get a day off. That's my Vlogbrothers day. And I get to do all the things that I love, which is writing and like recording a video or like doing some dumb thing with the camera or whatever it is. I like doing something that is creative and new, and then I edit it and then I upload it and it takes a day and it's done, and then people tell me whether or not they like it, and it happens all in a 48-hour period.
The main thing that I've been trying to do is think, how do I do something that is significant? Like, but significant not in the terms of like something that one day explodes and I get so many views for. Not in that sense. Like, I've been obsessed for a couple of years now, thinking when I'm 70 and I'm sitting down happy, and I look back, I had this chance with a YouTube channel with a huge audience. What did I do with it? Did I just sit down every Thursday and did whatever, or did I have any kind of impact in anyone's life? Do you think that that's something that we have to worry about, or that it's possible with YouTube?
I mean, yeah. I think it is something that we have to worry about. It's easy to say, like, of course, nothing really matters. Someday there will be no humans left to remember anybody was alive. Like, but that's not really what it's about. I don't think it's about like being remembered. I think it's about having a positive impact on the people that are here right now. I try to think about that every time I'm doing something publicly. Like, is this having a positive impact overall?
How do you see the next years for you? Do you always see yourself attached to YouTube or creating videos, or maybe just moving to like the production side of it? Or
I like being on the production side. I like helping people. Like there's something that's completely like, there's a completely different like good feeling that comes from helping someone realize their dreams than you get from realizing your own.
Yeah.
And I feel like as you start to, this is gonna sound like really dicky, but
go for it.
as you've when you've experienced a certain amount of success, like new successes start to feel less good.
Yeah.
But helping someone realize their first success and like seeing that glow in their eyes that you used to have feels really good. Like that's a whole new good feeling. And so I really like to do that when I can. But I still just love to, like, I love to edit video.
Yeah.
You know, I'm CEO of companies, but like, I'm not gonna pay anybody to edit my videos for me because like that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Don't take that from me. And I honestly never knew that until I got a chance to have someone edit my videos for me, and then I was like, I did it, and I was like, I hate that. Give it back.
Yeah.
Don't take my fun. I'm always gonna make stuff. Like I always want to have my like hands directly on some content. One of the interesting things about YouTube is that it's very personality focused because it's focused on authenticity, and it's often sort of focused on authenticity rather than like expertise or rather than like quality even. Mm-hmm. And So that makes the connection to the person really valuable. But the problem is, like, if your name was the source of value, you can print your name over and over and over and over again, like, you know, Neff does with your hat.
Yeah.
And that can be a brand on a million shirts. But you can't do that with a human being. You can't scale a human.
Yeah.
So finding little ways like that to scale the thing that has a lot of the value in it, which is just like the relationship that Hank Green has with the audience.
Still, I think one of the best things is that we are still defining our outlet. And nothing, like, that's one of the things that excites me the most. And I can never make people understand from other industries why that's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing defined. You can't tell me that there are no old YouTubers because that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be able to define that.
Yeah.
At the end, that is one of the greatest things that we have in our hands. Like,
Right.
things are going to happen and titles on, you know, headlines are going to happen here and there. But at the end of the day, we are working a platform that we will define.
Yeah. And it's I think it's a real responsibility. I watched a video recently about Machiavelli, the Florentine advice giver to princes, and about how, like, you kind of have to be bad in order to get good things done, which I don't believe at all.
Yeah, I don't.
I hate that perspective a lot because
I always feel like it's
because
like
if you're being bad, you're getting a bad thing done.
Yeah.
Like, you've done it, and if you're gonna, like, go and, like, look back as an old man and say, like, look at all of the good things I got done by hurting all those people,
It's really sad.
you're not gonna be a happy person. But really, to me, it's like trying to have every interaction that I have with all the people in my life be positive interactions, and, like, treating my relationships with respect, and, like, that's I feel like Happy Old Man has much more to do with the real relationships that you have than with the sort of, like, the huge successes that you will or won't have in your life, which you'll have. You've already had a bunch. Congratulations.
Hello, Luzu.
Hank, me has robado la cámara. Por cierto, Hank, acabamos de grabar un vídeo para tu canal. ¿Cuál es tu canal?
Vlog Brothers, come see us. It was fun.
Yeah.
You said a bad word.
Oh, la leche.
No, mierda.
Oh, mierda. Es buena mierda. Pero sí, Hank, Montana, genial. I'm gonna have to come back with Lana.
Yeah, I'd love for her to visit.
It's very cute around here.
Yeah. All you come too.
Y yo que muchas gracias, Hank, por haberte sentado conmigo a hablar de todas mis cosas raras de YouTube.
No problema.
No problema. You were saving that one. Y bueno, ya estoy de vuelta en el hotel. La verdad es que ha sido una tarde genial. Me ha encantado poder charlar con Hank, como os decía. Habéis visto, mientras estábamos hablando, que es una persona súper inteligente, es una persona a la que da gusto oír hablar, sobre todo con temas como los de YouTube. Creo que podría estar hablando con él horas y horas, porque no te aburres. Y es otro de los motivos geniales de hacer algo como esto, ¿no? De no solo hablar sobre determinados temas, o el hablar con algunos youtubers sobre determinados temas, sino el ir a verles al lugar en el que están. Creo que es algo que me encanta. Y la verdad es que espero poder volver a visitar este sitio, aparte de haberme puesto súper enfermo, porque me he puesto mega enfermo aquí, o sea, ya lo podéis escuchar en mi voz. Mi voz está destrozada. Así que sí, espero que os haya gustado muchísimo. ¿A dónde nos llevará la próxima parada? No lo sé, no puedo contestarlo, tendría que mataros si lo hiciese. Solo sé que será muy interesante una vez más y que probablemente me ayude a entender mejor lo que hago, lo que pasa por la cabeza de compañeros que hacen lo mismo que yo, las experiencias que han tenido y quizá ver hacia dónde me estoy dirigiendo. Nos vemos en el próximo.